You are listening to an All Games Radio Network broadcast of allgames.com.
Hi, this is Normie from Knuckleballer Radio and Zombie Cast, and you're listening to one of my favorite shows on the Geeky Antics Network. Don't forget to check out the rest of the gang over at geekyantics.net. Warning, there might be rants and food ahead and possibly inappropriate behavior. Don't tell anybody though.
Welcome, geeks, gamers, furries, and ninja robots. This is HorsePLAY Live. Today's Thursday, August 18th. It's a Friday. No, it's not Thursday. It's Friday. We're doing the show a day late again. This is episode 192 of HorsePLAY, tentatively titled, Brian is a real Rooster rider. Now, that's the forward for facing title. But what I really want to say is Brian is a real cock jockey. So, you know. Yeah, we'll get into that. I'm your bald bear lizard host, not bizzard, bizzard. I'm your bizzard, bald bear lizard host, Yogizilla, and it's just me again solo. Everybody's out of sync right now, and for a long time listening, we apologize. We're not really sticking to the schedule, but we haven't missed a week yet. So I want to give a heads up. Come October or November, we might miss. We might be missing some episodes, but I'll keep you guys posted. Also, I'm going to be traveling, so I'm trying to set it up so that the travel time won't coincide with when we usually do the show as best as possible. You know, there's obviously extenuating circumstances where you have to do what you got to do, but I'm committed to the cause. Anywho, if you're new to the show, we do this show every Thursday usually. We're stressing the usually right now. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, 4 a.m. GMT or BT, whatever they're calling it these days. Over at twitch.tv/geekyantics. That's twitch.tv/geekyantics. You can join us at the Discord server and chat with us there or on the Twitch chat. Discord server is free as well. That's over at geekyantics.net/Discord. And of course, there's other ways to connect with us. I'm at Yogizilla. The network is at Geeky Antics. We're not putting out as much content as we used to, but that could change anytime. It's tough to find people that want to contribute and work on a collaborative thing and not just spam about how their thing is greater than everyone else's. It's like that's what has been going on lately. Is like nonstop bloggers and streamers are like, "Hey, check out my thing," but then like all they do is just come on Discord or on Twitter and just spam about their thing. But then, they're completely out of the loop with everything else that's going on, like fundraising events, charity events, game nights. Or the worst, people will pass it away in our community. I mean, Jesus, you're really not trying if you don't notice things like that, and it's all over the place. It's been weeks since Rarapuda passed away, and there's people that are still completely oblivious to it. Kind of makes me a little bitter, but I get it. Everybody's kind of in their own little world. We get caught up in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, so it's easy to miss things, and that's why I really stress. I stress at work too. Sometimes we have to slow down to speed up. Everybody's in such a hurry, and everything's being done at rapid speed, right? But speed is not efficiency. Speed is not quality. Speed is a good metric, but should it be the only one you're focusing on? That's right. And if you're listening, Chris Gannon of Gaming Death Podcast, definitely make sure you catch them at twitch.tv/Gaming Death. They're doing that on Tuesday now. Yes, I said metrics. Or metric. Well, you love metrics either way. So, also for our new listeners, this is primarily a comedy show. Lately, the tone's been a little more serious, perhaps salty. We're gonna turn the ship around. I do want to say that if you want to contribute to Rarpuda's fund for his family to help him out through the tough times, GoFundMe.com/Josh-LEFEBVRE. We'd appreciate that, and that's not going to us, not going to me. It's going straight to his family. I think it's a really good cause. Actually, I haven't checked if it's still up. It should be, but by the time you listen to this, who knows? It might not be. Let me suppose to check that real quick. Let me pull it up. Also want to plug Stan Faryna's book. I know it's an awkward segue. If you go to Amazon.com, just look up Stan, last name Faryna, Faryna. I see War Child donated $50 to the cause. We have a bunch of other donations since we started promoting it. 20, 50, 25, 75, 200, 100. So it's good we're getting the word out. It's getting a really good amount of shares. And people get really up in arms about causes like this. We're at 640 of 750. So, yeah, almost there. I will admit I have not pitched in yet. There's been a lot of stuff going on. Just trying to get caught up. As some of you know, those months that, with consulting before I took on this full-time role, this permanent role, it's feast or famine. I mean, I can make, tens of thousands of dollars in a period of a month, weeks even. Or I could go months without getting paid because people don't pay their invoices at time. People, I'll fill up the sales pipeline and people are like, yeah, I'm ready to go. And then they dick around. Flaky people, they kill you. But, that's life. So sometimes, it's better to take a pay cut and have something more stable than to constantly be on the grind. Working for yourself, be a small business owner, it's tough without a cash infusion or having something really unique. The service industry is particularly brutal because you have things like Fiverr and overseas outsourcing that just completely devalues quality work. But imagine that, I've had this right before, but imagine if you just go to like a mechanic and try to wheel and deal the way people do with like consultants and service providers, like with the soft services at least. Imagine you go to the mechanic and say, I feel like this job you're doing should only cost about $10. Can you do it for 10? It's like, I'm replacing your entire transmission. Yeah, I think you can do it for $10. Okay, I'll pay for the parts too, and then the labor $10. That sounds about right to me. But it's the kind of stuff that happens in any facet of the workforce, I think in any capacity really. It's crazy. And meanwhile, on the flip side, you got the executives making obscene amounts of money. And while I have been an executive several times in my career, and I'm kind of really I'm functioning executive level right now, even though I don't have the title or the pay with that. I'm not complaining, that'll come. I understand you have to work your way up to that, the corporate ladder and all that, but the workload is definitely there, and the responsibility, non-stop. But I never needed the freaking really bloated. It's different also where you live. Like in New York City, you can make 6 figures and still be struggling. Trust me, I've been there before. But on to happier things. So this is Meanwhile Back at the Ranch, our IRL segment. This is where I just kind of rant about life stuff that's going on, things I've noticed. And usually the rest of the hosts join in on this, but they're not here, so it's just going to be me ranting for a little bit. And this will be a short show, so don't worry, it won't be a lot of ranting. But I did want to remind everybody on August 21st, it's Monday. I should probably get this podcast out by then, so everybody has that timely notification. NASA has a warning in effect that there's only, make sure you get proper solar glasses, eclipse viewing glasses. You know, the filters have to be ISO certified 1321-12, I think, is the ISO spec. They have a website, but their page has trouble coming up. They had a page for reputable resellers and brands. I don't know if they took it down purposely or what, but the price gouging right now is crazy on like eBay and Amazon. People wanting $50, $100 for pairs of glasses. No, it's crazy. That's extreme. But at the same time, it's like you buy $1 pair of glasses. Can you really trust that? So at this point, I don't even feel like I even want to take my chances. I'll probably be doing some stuff for the event, you know, to celebrate it, and at least be outside when everything goes pitch black in the middle of the day. It's pretty neat. Maybe I'll do a little time-lapse video or something. We'll see. We'll see how adventurous I'm feeling. I also mentioned last episode that the Puppet Museum in Atlanta has a Labyrinth exhibition, and I said that was going to be ending soon. Well, actually, they've extended it through October, which makes sense, because, you know, October, people dress up in costumes, you know, it just feels like something you'd want to enjoy in October, around Halloween time. So check that out, Labyrinth exhibition. It is the exhibit, right? Yeah, it is the exhibit. Wow. Yeah, I'm tired. It's the Puppet Museum in Atlanta, Georgia. So, you know, I've been enjoying some YouTubes. I haven't been watching much TV or movies or anything, but you know, here and there I just catch random YouTube stuff. I love that on Facebook on Thursday there was what was it, Titty Thursday? So that was going around, and a lot of people sending it to me were girls. That was interesting. That was a very mesmerizing video. I also talked about the video series you see, and there's multiple ones from different people, but there's one main one that sticks out from the same content creator, where these cats are just ringing bells and getting treats, and I gotta admit, it's one of the cutest things I've ever seen. But I've been pretty chill with the cat obsession lately. That I did enjoy recently a video of a cat that looks like Jasper, my orange cat. I guess that's what they call a tabby, or is it calico? I don't know. He's cute. He's really sweet. But this is a cat just laying down on someone's lap, you know, kind of sprawled out, and he's getting a shoulder massage, just completely incapacitated. It's pretty great. The cat it actually looks like he's smiling, and his eyes are closed, like, oh, that's great. Because the moment the guy stops, he's like, all right, I'm ready to go. So that's a pretty good one, and they're doing it outdoors too. It's pretty neat. You should definitely catch the video. It's one of my favorites. Put a smile on my face. But what I've been watching a lot of just footage of the King of Pop, Michael Jackson, throughout the years. His '87 Bad Tour, which actually featured a lot of the songs from the Off the Wall album, which I'm a big fan of. I also watched, in particular, his tours, his concerts in Munich in '97, I think. And I think that was the Dangerous Tour, was it? No, was that History? That was History. Or His Story, whatever we want to say, is the same thing. And what was the other one? There was one, the concert he did in Yokohama, I believe it is, in Japan. And that was as part of the Bad Tour, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just interesting watching him evolve over the years. You know, say what you want about him as a person. You could believe he was some deviant. He's definitely weird. And, you know, and I think unfortunately, maybe not so unfortunate, but really if you're a genius, if you're creative, or remarkable in any way, chances are you have some quirks. And I'll be the first to admit, I got some major malfunctions. There's pet peeves that I have. I'm a little anal retentive, you know, and I'm definitely a weird person. I don't know if I'm clear. I'm a weirdo. It depends who's talking, but and I have my quirks. Like right now, I'm being a little OCD and moving stuff around on my desk, kind of trying to make it look a little neater. But the thing about Michael Jackson is that he was brilliant. I can't think of a song of his that I didn't enjoy. And as a performer, when you think about a total package of pop, he was the embodiment of it. You know, music that made you groove, that was so mesmerizing that you'd memorize the words. You know, that no matter where you're at, if you hear one of his tracks come on, you gotta sing along or at least hum to it or something, unless you got no soul. I don't know. And man, he could put on a show. You know, the choreography, the set pieces, the crazy costumes that only he could pull off. You know, and he just had a presence, just a man. I mean, swag does not even describe it. The way he walked around, he just made the shoes. I mean, if you look at it, like the shoes and the socks and the glove and the rhinestone glove and all this stuff, that, you know, you look at it at face value, it's like, man, that's some corny stuff. But he made it look good. You know, we all at some point, well, you know, if you were around for the time during the Thriller album and that big video reveal. I mean, these music videos used to be worldwide events, you know, worldwide premiere. Michael Jackson's latest video. I remember when they did that for Bad. I mean, and it's just, it was an event, you know. It was memorable. I mean, it had impact. There's just no one like him anymore. I don't think there ever will be. But that's just me being an old man, you know. Oh, the good old days, right? But I mean, you know, I'll give some props to some folks, particularly I think Bruno Mars. I see a lot of Michael Jackson kind of in him. Will he get to his level? Probably not, but I enjoy his music. I think he's a great performer. And he's another guy that's kind of weird, kind of funny looking, yet he makes it look good, right? Just that confidence and that presence. But it also kind of, the passing of Michael Jackson for me just makes me feel like it was just the end piece on the end of an era. You know, it's just a complete confirmation that times have changed. You know, I grew up in a generation where TV was a bonding force. People got around in living rooms. People sat together at dinner tables. That was the norm. Nowadays, that's the exception, you know. And you had these television events that people would talk about. Now everything going to digital, it's different. We binge watch, and then we talk about it really hard, but then we forget about it just as quickly, you know. Just as aggressively as we get into it, we forget about it and move on to new things. And those, I feel like those memories aren't built up. You don't have a moment to really appreciate it. So it's just a completely different thing, you know. But I'm just, I was watching Michael Jackson bust his moves, man, and every concert he did, you see him get better. Every time he dropped a new album, he was just exponentially better with everything he did. Particularly just the dance moves, like just everything just was sharp. Like he was just you could tell he was a perfectionist, and it probably to the point where it was self-destructive. And I also noticed in his earlier performances, he would have other people on stage, but as he went along through his career, it was more about just focusing on him. And really, he carried the show by himself. He didn't meet other people at that point. Like his, 30th anniversary tour that he did. He performed Billie Jean at Madison Square Garden. What a show. I think between Billie Jean, Smooth Criminal, we talk about like some of the dance routines for that. Fantastic. The music videos were like little mini movies, Thriller and Moonwalker and all this kind of stuff. Smooth Criminal again. This, just completely different times. I was telling my better half about cartoons that we grew up with versus what the kids grow up with now. You see these millennials and Generation Zs or Alpha, whatever they want to call them now, and they're posting things on Facebook. You haven't lived if you never saw this cartoon. And they post things like, I don't know, Cat Dog or Ed and Eddie. Which I take nothing away from those. But the cartoons we grew up with lasted a long time, and they bridged gaps from generation to generation, and we still could go back to and enjoy it. Whereas these shows that the younger generations are growing up with are forgettable, and they're usually short-lived. They're not going to be looking at it decades from now and going, man, I used to love that. Or, hey, I'm in the mood to watch this. I'm in the mood to watch some Mighty Mouse. I'm in the mood to watch some Tom and Jerry or some Hanna-Barbera cartoons, I feel like people are missing out on those more intimate moments. And I don't mean intimate like sexy time. I just mean like really connecting with something and having those memories, I don't know. In the news, I wanted to mention this too. We talk about changing an era. Animatronics is, it used to be a big deal. You have, on one side you have things like the Avatar theme park. Where is it? Is that Universal Studios, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Universal Studios. And they have some animatronics there. But now everything's being digitized. It's like they're moving away from that kind of stuff where there's real presence and physical things to enjoy. So Chuck E. Cheese has plans to modernize their facilities. They're starting with 7 of their worldwide locations, including one in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. So what they're going to do is get rid of their animatronic bands, which has been a staple for them. And they have like 500 locations worldwide. And they want to modernize so there's more appeal for the parents and the grandparents. And they feel the kids prefer people in costumes, so they want to take that space and build dance floors so the kids could dance with the people in costumes. And I'm kind of thinking stuff like, have they met these kids? Because there's a lot of brats out there these days, it feels like, compared to when we were growing up. That's just sounds like a step backwards. So if you're near Chuck E. Cheese where they still do the animatronics, you may want to take the kids out or someone else's kids, and with their permission, of course. Okay, I gotta make sure I say that. We live in strange times, scary times, man. But yeah, if you're by Chuck E. Cheese and you have an excuse, legitimate reason to be there, don't be that weird adult that's just in there by yourself. I don't think they even let you come in if you're not with kids. and kids can come in on a company, so it has to be like a package deal, which makes sense. You don't want to introduce any weird things. Like, you don't want that one adult that's there by themselves. Like, are you coming for a party, or are you just coming to hang out? This isn't Dave and Buster's, you know. But anyway, that's a lot of people are really upset about this. There's a quote here in this article. Forum member Wolfpack 5 fan over at Gizmodo, I think. He maintains a YouTube channel of rare Chuck E. Cheese animatronic footage, and he explained to us, he explained to Gizmodo why he and other fans are so upset. He said, Chuck E. Cheese Corporation wants to, well, that's the implied part, replace these works of art, each with their own story and history, with a cheap dance floor. Back when they had shows, the place meant something. It was a place where magic comes alive. The theme of the show reminded you that you were lucky to be born in that age. Or he said in the age. That doesn't make as much sense, but okay. I get what you're saying. And that a good future was ahead. And Wolfpack 5 fan lives in Lee Summit, Missouri, about 15 minutes from one of the 7 Chuck E. Cheese locations that is being remodeled. And said that the company has been self-destructing for a while. CEC Entertainment started removing what made itself unique. First went personality, then side characters, show tapes, tokens, mazes, but now they say the company is killing its root where it all started, way back in '76, when a man had an idea to unify family, entertainment, and music to create a masterpiece. I like that he say way back in '76. It kind of gives you an idea that he isn't that old. I mean, I'm old, but I'm not that old. But I wouldn't go way back in '76. Then again, you know, many would consider I'm an old fart. Way back in '76. Now, if you said like way back in 50 something or 40 something, all right. You know, this is a good 50, 60 years. That's way back. 40 years? I don't know. That might be pushing it. You know, way back when, yo. I guess so. I guess that's fair. You know, but I don't know, if you think about the lifetime of a company, for a successful company, 40 years isn't long, unless your only goal is to grow big and then sell it off and then, you know, cash out. I guess that's, you know, that's what some people do. A lot of people do, actually. But yeah, regardless, it is a piece of history that's kind of going away. And I do definitely equate Chuck E. Cheese with kind of like really big 80s vibe for me. So just seeing that, though it doesn't really impact me personally as much, you know, most of my kids are really grown up, and you know that you know, not really a place we're gonna be frequenting. Maybe the grandkids, sure, but you know, and apparently, and I've known some people that worked there, and they got paid pretty well, and they enjoyed it. So it looks like they have cash flow. There's other ways to improve the business, you know. A lot of times, people throw money at technology and gimmicks, but it really ultimately comes down to process management, training, just leadership, you know, and systemizing things so you have consistent results. But anyway, let me not get all corporate on you. So I wanted to close tonight with my rant of the evening. And my rant is that Brian is a cock jockey. Let me tell you about Brian. Now, I'm not going to put his full name out there. Let's say his last initial is M. Brian is a software developer who has logistics experience, some logistics experience, but he's mainly a software developer. Alright, and I'm not saying it condescending because my background my background, even though I'm in IT, my background is actually mainly in education and computer science, software development. But I've been focusing more on the IT stuff and the business side, development, more of the strategic stuff and less about the tactical stuff. Not that not to devalue that stuff, but it's rare you find people in our line of work that have the full skill set and can bridge that gap. A lot of IT people I've worked with that have worked for me tend to be antisocial, perhaps even socially awkward, rude, or just odd. But there's a threshold, right, where you're like, oh, that's acceptable. Well, Brian exceeds that threshold. But let me tell you about him. So he has a decent background, and he's developed software for supply chain management. And I don't want to get too specific, but the thing about it is, for someone with background in logistics, from what he says and from what I understand, everybody exaggerates about the background. Let's just face it, but for someone that has that background, he's developed a product that isn't very intuitive, doesn't really address the pain points that people experience. So this is what I think: when you have software, specifically a business application, business platform, user experience is massive. If you have processes that have a lot of friction, that require a lot of training and remediation for people to get, training is inevitable, but a good system should be intuitive enough that people could look at it and get a general sense of where everything lives and how things flow. And there should be as close to a 1-to-1 ratio of features that map to business processes, workflow. That business logic needs to be integrated. But a lot of times we just see out there, especially with these products developed by these, developers in India that do really good programming, right? They understand how to write clean SQL queries and hooking apps into layers on the OS and, integrating systems, and they can make beautiful AIs or UIs rather. And then speaking of AI, they probably even create great algorithms for AI and learning machines and all kind of fun stuff. But when it comes to the user experience and like the understanding the business needs and making that flow, this is where most software developers I've worked with suck. So it's interesting because this Brian fella, let me take a swig of my root beer here. Very cocky fuck. And when I say he's a cock jockey, I'm probably giving you a compliment because he probably does like the cock. But my problem is, I have a very thick skin. And I'm used to IT people being douchebags and the bureaucracy in any corporate setting. But Brian is paid to provide a service for us. He's paid. We pay him for a product that is subpar, lacks a ton of features we used to have in previous platforms. Things like access control, he tells me, are considerations for future updates. Access control. Let me tell you how convoluted the system is. Access control is determined at the modular level. But more specifically, what screen, what view you're in. So if you have access to a certain area, it's an all or nothing thing. That person either has all access or no access. And there's groups So you can create groups for managing access control, and the user will inherit access rights through the groups. But those groups don't have any granular control either. So that's already bad. Another thing, systems written on Java. Jesus, well, you're about 10 years behind the market. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating. But for the past 5 years, companies have been aggressively trying to get rid of JRE from their environments. Java's not going to go away completely, but if you have to invoke a Java app from a web page using a Java plugin, you need to make that into a standalone application, compile it something else, some other framework, make it executable or something, and you can still have Java in the back end, but you don't want to run in JRE. It's just the security issues with it. Java has like 2 or 3 updates a week. It's a freaking resource hog. It's a nightmare. So needless to say, this system is full of suck. But it does have some really good things. So, we're trying to give him a chance, right? And try to work closely with him to get it to the point where it actually makes us happy and we could take advantage of the features that we're not taking advantage of. But it's just so many things. It's just like, for example, in a lot of the screens, when you're dealing with certain transactions, if you scroll over to the right, you have about 10-15 pages of data fields. And for the average customer that we serve, we use maybe 5% of those, but they're spread out, and you cannot customize your view. So you have to talk about poor workflow and bad efficiency. Having to imagine if you process 100 transactions in an hour, and you have to lose seconds or minutes scrolling all the way, editing all these fields that are separated because you can't customize your view. Or you can customize it, but it only stays that way for a while. And if you log off, you have to start again. It's asinine. So anyway, that's not what I'm really ranting about. Brian speaks to us, his customer, as if he's the boss. Now he knows that I'm the IT director at my company. He knows I report to the CEO and CEO directly. But he is condescending and tries to go over my head. Mind you, it cracks me up because, he'll CC my bosses on things they really give 2 shits about. And all that does is piss them off at him because they don't want to get that spam. They don't have time for little bullshit because you want to CYA. And I even told him, hey, Brian, maybe chill out with the CCing because, so-and-so told me they really want to cut back on the email because it's getting out of hand. But he does whatever he wants because he's Brian and he's a cock jockey. Well, this guy, man, let me tell you, it all started because I brought an issue to his attention about a week or 2 ago. I don't know, I lost track of time. A lot of this happened. And we didn't want to bring him into it because at first we didn't want to bring him into it or his support team at all because even if he contacts someone else on his team, he hijacks the conversation. He's just a control freak. So here's a guy that is the senior, as he says, the most senior analyst or tech. He's also a software developer. Well, let me tell you, he's a shitty troubleshooter. He's a decent software developer. Terrible businessman. And he's also the CEO, right? So that's fun. So we're stuck with this asshat that will tell us on 1 second to email support with issues as they happen, but then what's the point because he hijacks the conversation anyway. and he wants to be CC'd on everything and be in the loop on everything. He's just a control freak, and he's a hot mess. Did I mention he's a cock jockey? He is. I don't even know where to start. There's just so many things, but he wasn't getting to the heart of the issue. I gave him information. I said, hey, users are experiencing this. This is what we've done so far. These are the symptoms of the issues, and I even try to steer him away from the things that I know it's not. Hey, it's not an issue with network bandwidth, because we run network utilization tests, and it doesn't coincide with the issues we're having with your platform. We check the the system log. I send him the snippet from the server log. He says, I don't need that. Just tell me what I need to know. I told him everything I could, but then when I tell him details, he's like, leave the diagnosis to me. But tell me about the issue. Wait, do you want information or not? This guy's a piece of shit, really. So then he tries to tell my boss that I'm not being helpful, and he keeps asking me again and again for information, and I'm withholding. And then they're laughing on the side because they know that's not true. Anyway, leave the diagnosis to me. Oh yeah, piece of shit. I'm trying to help you. Your opinion isn't helpful. That's what he told me. So eventually, he just kept doing these little things. I stopped trying to work with him, and I contacted someone else at the company, and he hijacked that conversation. He said, like it or not, you have to deal with me. So he's very combative in his approach. Not the way you run a business, by the way, if anyone's aware of that. But I put aside what people said about him, tried to give him a chance, and he just kept pushing up on us. And so then finally, when he said the whole leave the diagnosis to me, your opinions don't help. Well, no, it's not opinions. I'm telling you the troubleshooting steps I went through, so you're not reinventing the wheel and trying to pass the buck like you have been, and you focus on the areas that I think really need to be looked at first. Because he had no troubleshooting flow. All he does is just say, oh, I think it's this thing on your side, all this, blah, 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 and then he's complaining about how we locked him out of the system. Yeah, because the guy used to freaking go into our system and perform updates on our server that we have in a production environment without giving the internal IT management team, internal IT department a heads up. Here's what I did. Oh, after the fact, after you fucked this up. So people would come into work, and things that were working the other days weren't working anymore. You don't do that shit. You're working in a production environment on a system that, if it's down, could cost us millions of dollars an hour in lost revenue. That could cost us massive accounts. It's that serious. And he's gonna willy-nilly just change things because he thinks he knows everything and he knows what's best for us. And I could go on and on how this guy's a real piece of shit. But so things started escalating. When he pulled the note, let me do a diagnosis thing, very condescending, And again, I realize email and some people just don't have good communication skills, so I try not to read too deep into it. But I just said, "Lol, you're a character, Brian," and I put a smiley face after it. He responds. And by the way, he's one of the machine gun emailers that will write you back to back different email messages, and then it's just randomly inserting people, in the CC and BCC field, and then he'll do little side conversations with you, so people won't know what a real piece of shit he is, or he'll try to pretend he's your friend, like real snake in the grass. All right. So I said that, and he writes me back. He says, I'm really disappointed that you wrote an email like that. Like, what? See, I don't know why you would write an email like that. So then finally, he just kept pushing my buttons, and I know going to email battle, I know better. Having battle wits with the unarmed is pointless. Going to email battle doesn't end up in a good place. And I usually hold myself to high standards of professionalism. I'm not a tight ass. I'm not a freaking monkey in a suit, and I'm pretty easygoing. I tend to make jokes and liven things up, but at the same time, I know when to be serious and reel things in and avoid certain kind of hot button topics, right? But I finally had to tell him. I said, because he was complaining. He said, you should. I don't know why you guys don't have your CSRs, your admins, and your users just contact us directly. And he just kept pushing the button and said, all right, Brian, don't take no offense to this. And I know when you open up like that, people still going to take offense. But, so, yeah, I have to say that maybe from what I gather from our users, your bedside manner leaves a lot to be desired. And I have to say, in the 30 plus years I've been working with computers and with vendors and just people in general, I gotta say that you're probably one of the most caustic people I've met yet. Maybe that last part was a little bit much, but I mean, he has a little bedside manner. It's a reality. Yeah, when you're dealing with a customer, first of all, when you're troubleshooting and you're dealing with a customer that's bringing you a lot of revenue, right, and it's very important, and it's one of your biggest customers, you don't say things like, "Oh, we have bigger customers." You don't act like you're a know-it-all. You don't demand things. You're in no position to demand. You can strongly suggest. You can ask for things, suggest things, advise, but demand. So he's trying to tell my IT people what to do. He's like, I'd like to see some network utilization. No, you won't. So then I cut his access off to our system because he's just digging into shit that he doesn't need to be in. He's like, oh, what happened? I can't get in anymore. I can't monitor the system if I don't have access. I'm like, oh, I thought you were done. Mind you, the exchange went back and forth a lot more, but he went to my boss and said, oh, I need to work with someone else because this guy's being really difficult, and I don't know why he's being like that. Oh, you really don't know why? I'm the one that's being difficult. I'm the one that's running around a circle. Anyway, so troubleshooting steps. I mean, if you're a good troubleshooter, especially if you're doing phone support or email support, a really good troubleshooter knows to ask qualifying questions. If you're not asking those questions clearly and you get derailed, it's your fault that things derail. Alright? Especially if you start getting to the things about political problems and having little side conversations. No, you have no call control. You have to control the flow of the process. Alright? Especially via email, it's going to be a back and forth for a while. So, and you have to understand people have other things to do. Even if there's urgency with the matter at hand, they're not going to respond right away. Respect people's time. But you ask qualifying questions to get to what's useful to you. So, and that made it so easy for myself. So tell me what you need to know specifically. I'm asking him questions about how the system works, but he refused to answer that. So you're setting me up for failure. Maybe if you let me know how your system works on the back end better, I could give you the information that will help you with your troubleshooting, rather than trying to be all cryptic about it with stuff that I could probably figure out on my own if I really wanted to. What a character, I tell you. Now, I can't believe I set him off. I called him I said, what a character. Well, you are a character. You talk like an asshole. I mean, this guy reminds me of someone. I've worked for companies that will outsource overseas. Hate it. Don't approve of that. I understand everybody needs to make money, and something you need to do what you got to do. But when you deal with these foreigners that English is a second language for them, they tend to not use the best words, right? So they're very rough, And everybody learns the strong words, the curse words first, right? They learn the cuss words first and whatever, and that's the way a lot of people talk. So there's a language barrier, and a lot of things get lost in the translation with the email. Okay, I get it, whatever. But you tell them one of those people is just like, it's like he doesn't understand And I really think he doesn't understand the way he talks is a total piece of shit. Like, he's the guy that will go into a funeral and talk about a girl that he fucked the night before and not understand why people find that offensive. It's like, dude, time and place? Like, because, maybe where he's from, where, in the cave he was raised in, that kind of thing, no problem. Alright? So, you make concessions for certain people, but this is only so much you can take. So I finally just drew a line, pushed at him, and lo and behold, now the system's working properly. I had to freaking be an asshole back at him. My boss didn't approve. Said, I cringed a little bit some of the things you said there. Like, no, trust me, that was me biting my tongue. I'm not gonna let a vendor that we're paying treat us like shit, be authoritative, and not do his job. Literally, no one wants to deal with him. Like, alright, Yomar, you could deal with him. No one wants to deal with this guy. And really, how can you be that much of a piece of shit and be oblivious to why you are a piece of shit? Doesn't compute. You have to have at some point you have to have some acknowledgement, especially if you're like late 40s, early 50s, which I believe is where Brian's at. I think you've done some self-discovery to understand. So I look at his website and I see the testimonials, and I could tell that they're either paid testimonials, they've been reworked, or they had to like beg to get them, or it was maybe a once upon a time when he actually worked hard to help his customers. Same thing with LinkedIn too. The one testimonial he has is someone that talks about his consulting work. It's probably the last time he actually did a good job and worked hard. Now that he's a CEO of a company, he's had lots of cash flow coming in. Because with these kind of systems, especially these big data system, these scumbags will beg you, they'll suck your dick to get you to use their platform, and then once they have you and you're used to their system, and you switch everybody over, it's like, oh, I got you by the ball now, because it's going to be a nightmare for you to move your business away from this without disrupting your production, especially if you have 24/7 sites. And that's what I think he thinks. He doesn't realize just how easy it is to just take one of our images, our backups, start a new SQL database, drop the data in there, or put it in Oracle, whatever, and go with another provider. And there are plenty. Yeah, there'll be some downtime, but it'll be better than freaking dealing with his piece of shit behavior. Brian, eat a dick. And I'm out of root beer. That's good. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you. I would recommend, typically in those situations, you want to walk away, especially if you're new on the job. I was aware that no one liked him. I was aware that his company is on very thin ice. And I knew that we had to put pressure on him, and he was diddling around until I finally blew up on him. And I have a feeling that after that, my boss called him the owner and president and CEO of our company. Because let me tell you, shit got done, and all of a sudden I started getting status updates of what he was doing instead of a little bullshit whiny like, oh, well, maybe if you didn't lock us out of the system, we'd be able to help you all the time, blah, blah. Maybe if people emailed it. Well, no one wants to talk to a freaking Debbie Downer. You're a Debbie Downer, Brian. You're that depressed person with a micro penis that people pity, but you're so self-destructive that they try to love you, and then you're still a piece of shit. So you have no personality, and you have nothing to offer. So that's So really, where you know, because you're smart, you think that's enough? There's lots of smart people in the world. You know, you could train a lot of skills. And what you can't train is not being a piece of shit. You can't train good bedside manner. That's a really hard one to do. You either have a passionate, compassionate soul, you either care, or you don't give a fuck. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, you know what it is for... Imagine you called any kind of company that you get service from, and they were so brazen to just go... Imagine like calling your ISP, and you complain about internet outages. Say, you know, well, we noticed you've been complaining a lot lately about our service, and I gotta say, you know, you're not our biggest customer, so we really don't care. Are you kidding me? Alright? Or you have a problem with your car. Hey, when I need to turn on my car, I notice I have to jiggle it a little bit left and right, and then turn the ignition all the way, and then it cuts on. But if I don't, it doesn't work. And then the car manufacturer or the dealership talks to you and says, no, it's because you're doing it wrong. You know, that's the proper procedure. You just don't know how to work our system. No, but that shouldn't be that way. It says it should just be like one turn and done. No. This is how a system works. You're just dumb. You need to be retrained. This is the kind of stuff we deal with Brian. He feels rather than improving his product so that it's a good user experience, we should just RTFM and deal with a system that really is shitty at many levels. You know, I talked before about... You thought I was done with my rant. You know, I talked before about how important it is to invest in your employees, and if you have a team or organization, having retention be at the forefront when you find quality people. Now, not everybody's going to be an A player, but your B players matter too. They keep things running. But the A players are going to want to develop the best practices. I can maybe get the B players stepping up their game a little bit too, right? But the thing is, you don't want a lot of turnover, because onboarding people is a long, tedious process. Right now, you know, my company, they say it takes about 3 to 4 weeks to bring someone on board with all the testing and stuff they do. But it's really 2 to 3 months, unless they have a real immediate need. On the management level, they're a lot more thorough, you know, if you're in a leadership position. So that's just, you know, onboarding. I look at onboarding as everything from starting the hiring process, you know, vetting the people, checking out references, right, doing assessments, to getting them the resources they need to do their job, to training them, right? And training takes different forms. You got your classroom-based training, you got your self-study, and you got your, you know, quote-unquote on-the-floor training, where you're shadowing people, or you're doing pod training, you know, stuff like that. You know, buddy system, whatever it is that your company does, you know, but there's always some form of it. So, you know, you think about it, in a company where it could take 3 months, maybe 4 months even, worst case scenario, to have someone be fully functional in a role, and then you have a platform that is pretty much the core of your business, and the provider tells you stuff like, you know, I notice a lot of errors that are due to user fault. Are you guys not training your guys? Are they just dumb? Now, I would suggest, I would strongly recommend you keep people off your systems until they're trained. Oh yeah, good tip, Brian. Let's shut down entire production. Our customer won't mind while we take everybody through remedial courses. That's a Good idea. You know, who has that kind of talent pipeline to have everybody on the floor go into training and then have backup people that just miraculously have nothing else to do? They could call in and they could do a better job than the people you're training. No, it just defies logic. Fortunately, a lot of things have to happen in parallel, and there's growing pains. That's just the way it is with anything. God. Take people off the floor until they learn the system. No, maybe your system is shit. Because I look at the system and I'm like, this makes sense to me because I'm a techie. But me coming from the business, side, understanding project management, understanding user experience, understanding friction, flow, game mechanics, sales and marketing, so many things that you have to consider. I step away from it and I go, yeah, but this is a shit experience for everyone else. I can see the problem. And I ask around and say, if you could change anything, what would it be? Or, I ask the new people, how are you feeling about the system? How does it flow? And it's almost across the board the same answers. It seems like everything has a lot more steps to it than it really needs to. It doesn't feel like a smooth transition from one process to another, one step to another. Yeah, because it isn't. So, unfortunately, we have to tell people, learn the system and, work around those flaws. That's just a terrible thing to do. Why would would you buy a car knowingly that it doesn't work properly and work around it? Keep going back to the car metaphor, but it's one that people can relate to for the most part. This one only has 3 tires, and the third, you can't put in a 4th tire because it doesn't work. But if you lean forward and to the right, you can make it work. You have to get like a little running start, have someone push the car, and just maintain 40 miles per hour, and you can actually drive without that 4th wheel, believe it or not. Just don't turn. It's stupid to tell people to work around that kind of stuff. But that's what Brian thinks. It's so presumptuous. Like, as if we're not trying to approach it from every point. I'm IT, but really I'm doing labor management. I'm doing training. I'm very process oriented, so I'm looking at not just the technology, but the business processes and everything in between. How to connect the people with the results and the systems that facilitate them. And driving things to a point where they become more consistent. So there's a lot of moving parts with it, but long story short, Brian is a cock jockey, and I think I've more than illustrated it. If you happen to know a Brian M, and he happens to be a CEO of a company that does software solutions, and he's a piece of shit, we might be thinking about the same guy. The one last hint I'll give is that he's in the Pennsylvania area, I believe. Real piece of shit. It's hands down piece of shit. I think the only reason we're sticking with them right now is because one of our biggest partners uses their system. So, they have a certain comfort level with it. And there's a lot of time invested into the system. But I really feel like we should just count our losses and start off with something fresh that makes sense. Unless he's really going to develop it into what we need it to be. But we'll see. I'll probably have more Brian rants in the future, though. If I can avoid it, I won't be asking him for any help. He's a piece of shit. Took him over a week to get around. He was working around the clock. But once he finally stopped passing the buck, he actually did his job and figured out the issue, which was pretty much exactly where I told him it was to begin with in my useless diagnosis. Good job, Brian. I'm glad you figured it out. network utilization. Yeah. Utilize this, asshole. Anyway, guys, this has been HorsePLAY Live, episode, what are we up to, 192? Man, what was it, 200? Should probably do something for that. And it's now August 19th, and I need to be up early. So I'm wrapping it up here. Love you guys. If you want to get at me, I'm at Yogizilla on Twitter. Yogizilla on Xbox Live. I'm going to try to get on more. I know. It's just trying to get in that groove. We're gonna get there. We're going to get there. Voicemail. You can leave a voicemail 646-801-2149. 646-801-2149. You can also text that number as well. Or email us, mail@geekantics.net. And of course, we have a Discord server, geekantics.net/Discord. And yeah, that should cover everything. Love you guys. See you next week. Peace.